Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. Come closer, settle in. This is a story about gods, belief, and what happens when a desert empire has 100 laws and almost no faith. On the disc, gods are not distant. They are market forces with better costumes, and they live or starve by attention. In Omnia, the church is very good at being certain. Certainty builds temples. Certainty builds the Quisition. Certainty stamps papers and breaks people who ask awkward questions. Certainty does not, unfortunately, build gods that stay awake. Great God OM, once vast, once worshipped, once the sort of deity who expected statues and burnt offerings, wakes up as a tortoise. This is embarrassing. Tortoise feet are not designed for thunder. His voice is small. His shell is heavy. His worshippers have moved on to rules, because rules are quieter and easier to enforce than love. Brutha is a novice who cannot read, remembers everything, and is kind in a way that makes ruthless men nervous. He is large, gentle, and stubborn about kindness the way mountains are stubborn about staying put. He is, without knowing it, the last true believer OM has left. Belief, OM discovers, is what gods run on. You cannot compel it with a whip. You can only earn it, which is harder than conquest and slower than a tortoise crossing sand. Vorbis the Exquisitor has certainty without mercy and a plan for empire. He does not need a god who talks. He needs a god who stamps papers and excuses. He is the sort of man who would rather be right than good, and who confuses silence with holiness. Brutha carries OM across the desert while eagles circle and gods argue about market share. The journey is long. The shell is heavy. The questions get heavier. What is faith if it needs an army? What is a god if nobody listens? What is a man if he only ever obeys? In Ephebe, philosophers argue about turtles and reality, which is either very wise or very silly depending on your schedule and whether you have had lunch. In the desert, men die for slogans. Brutha learns that truth is not the same as doctrine, and courage is not the same as cruelty. OM grows, not into a statue, but into something more dangerous, the god who has to listen. Listening is not a hobby for deities used to being obeyed. It is a revolution in a shell. When the moment comes, Brutha speaks truth to power. The Quisition does not like truth. Empires do not like kind men who remember every face. And yet, belief, freely given, is stronger than any law. Omnia changes. Slowly. Imperfectly. The way real faith does, which is never tidy enough for tyrants and never loud enough for people who only hear drums. The disc keeps score in strange currencies, not gold, not blood, but attention, the quiet kind that says I hear you, and means it. Small gods, large consequences. A tortoise can move a mountain if enough people believe it is going somewhere. On the disc, that is not a metaphor so much as a weather report. Gods rise and fall. Empires claim eternity. Kindness keeps walking. If you are still awake, remember this, on the disc, gods are only as big as the belief that feeds them, and the quietest believer can outlast the loudest tyrant. There. Sleep well. Somewhere, a tortoise is still learning how to be holy without being cruel. Belief is patient. The desert is patient. Even tortoises are patient, which is why they outlast men who shout. Belief is patient. The desert is patient. Even tortoises are patient, which is why they outlast men who shout. Belief is patient. The desert is patient. Even tortoises are patient, which is why they outlast men who shout. Belief is patient.